Welcome to Jolene's Books and Writers Talk, where stories begin long before the first page, and writing is more than words on a screen. I'm your host, Jolene McFadden, and each week I sit down with authors and publishing professionals to talk about craft, creativity, and the real life behind the books. These episodes are sponsored by Southern Dragon Publishing. Please take a few seconds and hit the like button, share this and other episodes, subscribe to our channel, and even leave a nice comment below. Let's begin.
Most people know me as Pat Karen, but I write as Marie Q. Rogers. And there's a story behind the name. I have a sister-in-law, Patrice Rogers, who writes for her grandchildren. I wanted to use my maiden name, Rogers, as my author name, but I figured I can't use Pat Rogers because of my sister-in-law's name. So I took my middle name, Marie, which I've always liked. When I set up a website, there were other Marie Rogerses out there. Not as far as I know, none of them write, but they do other things. So I had to distinguish myself. So I tried several initials, finally ended up with the letter Q as the middle initial. There's no period after it. And so that's how I got the name Marie Q. Rogers.
Your dystopian science fiction book. I know you have one published, and are you thinking about doing another one, a sequel?
Not a sequel to this one. Now, my young adult books, right now I'm working on 2 prequels, things that happened before that. And I'm really excited about them. Now, the Season of the Dove, I don't foresee a sequel. The story is complete in itself.
Okay.
I'm almost at the point of publishing another science fiction-y book. It's notebooks hidden in an abandoned house. It takes place in Gainesville, and it's a Twilight Zone type of story. And I'm having a lot of fun with that one too. I have fun with all my stories. I'm a rewriter. I rewrite. I go back. I edit. I rewrite. And I never get tired of the story. So I guess that's a good sign.
What is the title that you're going to use for this latest one?
Oh, notebooks hidden in an abandoned house.
Short, simple, sweet. On the nose.
It's a long time to put it.
Let's talk about it.
Okay. The premise is you have a contractor. He's a widower. He retired when his wife was dying, and he's just fumbling through life. He's still missing his wife very much. And his friend talks him into checking out this abandoned Victorian era house that the friend just bought, and is thinking about either fixing it up if it's worth it or tearing it down and doing something else with the lot. He goes in there and checks out the house, and he finds there's a hiding place behind a board in a closet where he finds 4 spiral notebooks, old ones, not the nice fancy slick ones we get at Walmart now. These are the old ones with a cover that looks like cardboard. He finds those and he takes them home. And what is this? And he flips through and it seems to pertain to this house. So maybe it'd be worth looking into. At first, he has no idea that he's going to restore this house, but his friend talks him into it. So he starts reading the notebooks, looking for clues to how the house looked when it was new. And there's a problem here because the house had stood over near downtown Gainesville where they were going to build the Brown courthouse. And there were a bunch of things that were taken down there. In my story, this house was moved to a lot east of town. So it was moved in the 70s. And then the story seems to take place where the house originally stood, but they're talking about songs and stuff from the 70s, not the 60s. And he's confused. Was this written before the house was moved or after? How could it have been? It just doesn't work. And he goes on with fixing things up, and things in the notebook story start happening in his life. And things that he is doing to the house start showing up in the notebook story. The notebook story is about 8 young people who went to a party at the house and got stuck there. This is the Twilight Zone type scenario. They're stuck there. They cannot get out. The doors open up to the opposite side of the house. The windows are pretty much, you can't see through them. And these people go on with their life. And fortunately, they come to a point where they start improving their lives, because they're all 8 of them are very dysfunctional people. But they start improving their lives. I'm not going to say any more about that, but it does have an ending, put it that way.
Good. I love those kinds of reads. You never know what you're going to get.
Uh-huh. Like I said,
I'm ready. Damn, let's see. Where's my list? Have you ever considered doing like straight romance, contemporary, or historical, or moving off from the sci-fi area? Or do you just like that one?
Whatever story percolates in my mind that needs to come out. I'll do other genres if the story fits that other genre.
When you're building your worlds, sci-fi and fantasy writers specifically talk about you have to create like a Bible so that they can keep within the realm of reality of that particular world book. Did you create one for any of your books?
Not a formal one, but I make lists like this character, he has these qualities. This character has these things in her past, things like that. I make lists in order to keep track of everything. But the worlds kind of form in my mind as I'm working on the book. And as I rewrite, I'll embellish on some things that need more. But it is important to keep everything within the logical context of the story. It doesn't have to actually fit reality, but the reality of the story, the events have to be true to that world.
I know you have like writers pods with the Writers Alliance of Gainesville. And do you work with an editor with your books? Or are you doing?
Well, they say that a doctor who treats himself has a fool for a patient. I'm afraid I do my own editing. I put my book through my pod group twice, first on the first part, then I go rewrite and then put it through again. I've had a lot of eyes looking at my book, and I'm a good editor. I'm a slow reader. That means I can't read as much as a fast reader could, but I'm more focused on details. And so
Right.
that helps.
I'm sure you've had other careers or may still be working, but if you had any other choice in the matter, what it would be your ideal career that you would like to do for the rest of
Actually, writing. Back in my youth, I had a couple of years of teaching. Then I went into social work. And social work is really good because you meet all kinds of people, all kinds of situations. That's good for basing characters. I'm a master gardener. I love plants, gardening, nature, and all that. I'm in a garden club, but really all my life, I just dreamed of writing. And so this is my dream
your
career.
past? Excellent. What are your favorite blogs or websites for writers? Just the top 2.
Oh, for writers, I don't know how to answer that. There's some travel blogs that I follow because I love traveling, and a lot of nature and that sort of thing, gardening blogs and medicinal herbs and things like that. Those are the things I follow. more than writing blood.
How did you come up with the character names for your stories? Do you have a baby's name book, or do you just put a search engine on it, or
Usually I just think about them. The names come to me. All my life, I've been dealing with people and different names. So I've come across a lot of names. So I guess that would be my name book. And then, of course, with my young adult books, which take place on a different planet, I made up those names. And in the later, the books I'm working on right now, the prequels, the people are known by numbers. And so their names are not our numbers, it was the numbers of the planet where they live on.
when you're writing, how do you get in the heads of your characters to bring out the correct emotions and actions of that particular character? Do you have a particular process, or do you just close your door and turn on some music, or how do you get into that?
Pretty much close my door, but I like it silent. Maybe if there are birds singing outside, that's good music. I will start writing or I'll be rereading in preparation to doing the next several pages. And somehow I'll get into their heads and I feel what they're feeling and try to portray this so that the reader can feel it also.
And who's your favorite writer?
I guess Tolkien. Tolkien would be number one.
Oh, yes. A true sci-fi fan. Yeah. And so, leisurely, besides gardening, blogs, and stuff, what kind of books would you prefer to read in your downtime?
I like a lot of different things. I don't stick to one genre. I like the classics. I learn a lot from them. I learn some things not to do from some of them. I like mysteries, some thrillers, of course, science fiction. I read a lot of nonfiction too, more than I used to. I used to not care to read nonfiction, but these days,
Right.
finding things that, wow, this is fascinating.
We all seem to cycle through depending on how we're feeling and what age we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's one a lot of people ask and they can't really believe. It's how long did it take you to write each of your 3 books?
Okay. The first two, I actually got the idea for it when I was a kid. My brothers and sisters and I would camp out and we'd tell stories, usually ghost stories. Well, this wasn't exactly a ghost story, but it was a story I told. And then through the years, every now and then I'd revisit it and improve on the concept and the characters and such. And when I retired, I sat down and wrote the first draft. And that's when I started. It took me probably 10 years to get it out. Season of the Dove, that was quick compared to the others. I wrote it and then rewrote it. Then I took it to my pod group. So that was only a few years. But the one that I'm trying to bring out now took a long time. When I first joined WAG and joined a pod, that was the first thing I put through there. And at the time, it was a disaster. So I did what I could then, set it aside on the back burner, came back to it. That's what I usually do. When I finish something, I'll set it aside for a while and let it simmer and come back to it with fresh eyes. So it takes me years to get a book out.
Who is your biggest supporter in your writing career?
I guess my pod group is. Also family, of course, family and
Not all
friends.
family, not all family support.
No, they don't all. One surprising thing, I'm on the board of the Florida Federation of Garden Clubs, and the current president got wind of my writing, and she's bought every one of my books, and she helps me promote it. And other people in the garden club system have been buying my books too. That was a surprise, but I'm very pleased.
You never know who's going to be your
Yeah.
advocator.
Yeah.
I know that the theme of the Sunshine State Book Festival is climate change in literature. And Season of the Dove is definitely right up there. When I read it, it sounded very prophetic for Florida. And we talked about this before, but is that what you're going to be talking about?
Probably. I'll probably also be talking about how climate change affected the ecology of Florida and the rest of the world too, Southeast especially, where this story takes place.
What do you suggest to anybody, young readers, whatever, to try to stave off the upcoming climatic events at all? If there's things we could do as far as have a garden,
Yeah, solar
what can you
panels. I
so
don't have solar panels yet. I live in the woods, but someday I will. Cutting down on the use of gas and electricity. My electric bill is way smaller than most people because I'm careful. I turn off lights when I'm not in the room. In the summertime, I had a tin roof put on my house, and that made the house so much cooler in the summer. I
really?
seldom have to use my air conditioning. I have ceiling fans in every room, which helps. But the environment around my house, it is cooler in the summer and not quite as cold in the winter. The trees protect me. Trees are very important. We've got to stop burning down forests and
Y'all have a love-hate relationship. Most landowners that I've talked to over the last 10 years, especially with the hurricane coming in, the natural forests are mostly water oaks or pines, which the water oaks fall down
yeah.
and the pines attract lightning. They just do. I love pines, but they attract lightning. And my brother is determined to knock down all the water oaks on his land. With Arbor Day coming up, I bought like 10 trees for him that are supposed to be good for my region. I think they're various shades of crepe myrtle. Yeah, they do take time to grow, but they're hardwoods, so they'll be a little bit easier. So, other than planting trees as much as possible, but especially fruit trees, the variety, and getting solar panels, having your own garden, is there any other suggestions for people to try to help our environment?
One thing is to be aware of what's happening and getting clues about what you can do and spreading the word, talking to other people about it. As far as trees around your house, I found, I had a pine tree struck by lightning and it affected one of my laptops. It blew out some of the stuff in it. And the water oaks, sometimes they will fall over, but I try to keep them far enough from the house that they'll fall over, but not on the roof. And also, they are a windbreak.
Right.
I don't have the force of wind that people out in the open do because the trees protect me.
Yes, it just seems weird to me. Most of the farmers I see out here, they have their double wide in the middle of a field and nothing around them,
I know.
and acres of just grass or whatever they have. And I said, no shade, trees fall. It all depends on the type of tree you get. Anyway,
You have a tornado, it can pick a tree up a mile away and bring it over and drop it through your roof. So,
that's just Mother Nature, y'all.
yeah,
I'm asking different homeowners, why don't they put porches on?
yeah,
That gives you shade right there. It helps you not get wet when you go out the front door. Yeah, if you had like a 6 or 8 foot porch around your house, that gives your windows shade in summer. And
yeah. That's what the old cracker houses had. They didn't have air conditioning.
we had to do what we do and have everything lined up so you got a nice breeze coming straight through. You had your house lined up a certain way. And Anyway, going back to the old ways. And are you in canning?
I used to be when I was younger and had a house full of kids. Yeah. But lately, I haven't gotten into it because it's just me eating here. I keep thinking maybe I should, but I haven't gotten back into it yet. But I used to.
You have that lovely garden, of course. Do you end up giving most of your stuff away? Or is it just enough for you?
Usually it's just enough for me or maybe a few other family members. I don't have a big production.
I like watching the homesteaders now. This guy in California, he tore up his whole front yard, put in a recycling pond in the front to water all of his plants. He's container, the big metal water troughs. He turns them into container garden. He tries to live on what he produces other than meat and stuff. But he has a couple chickens running around and he beats the chickens to scraps and is showing people how they can go back to being more sustainably living.
Yeah.
Do you have an opinion on that controversy that says cows produce more gas than cars?
I don't think that's true. I've heard arguments both ways, but one thing, cows can be trained on grasslands. They can be pastured in such a way that they don't eat all the grass, just enough, and the grass roots are really a carbon sink. So in that way, a properly pastured cow can actually contribute to the problem of too much carbon in the atmosphere.
Help the problem, not hurt.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I like the analogy that one social media person said, I would rather be stuck in a barn with cows overnight than cars running.
Yes, me too. Smell much better.
Yeah, just think about it. Carbon monoxide is just awful. Even though I love having a car, I love my car and I try to keep it clean and I get the oil changed. I make sure there's no exhaust because our transportation in Florida sucks.
Yeah.
We really should have the trains back up, even if they're electric trains going between the towns. I
Yeah.
think that would be excellent. And there's things you're doing in Norway with putting solar receptors in sidewalks and streets. So when you brush along them, that creates friction, I think, and that powers the lights above and and the sun also. So there's things that we can do.
Yeah.
Anyway, so as a master gardener, I've always wondered, you're part of the IFAS Master's Gardener program?
Yeah.
And do you find that Alachua County is more receptive to gardening and recycling than other counties in your area, or is it rural versus city?
Yeah, Alachua County is, I live in Bradford County, but Alachua is definitely more progressive. Definitely.
Oh, okay. I'm going to have to put you in a different county for my library list. I don't have many Bradford County writers, so I'm going to put you on there, dadgummit.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm updating the by-county author list with their books and contact information, and then sending it out to the county regional libraries to help with programming and to purchase books.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know of any other writers in Bradford County I can add to the list?
Not currently. A few years ago, there were several of us, but I think the others have moved somewhere else. I think there are some writers that aren't part of WAG and I don't know them. Every now and then I'll see something in the newspaper, but no, I don't know of any others here at present.
Then the last fun question. If you could invite 3 people, alive or dead, to your dinner table, one at a time, of course, to discuss anything you would like, who would they be and why?
Oh boy, that's a hard one. I guess I'd want people with ideas would be a good one to talk to because his books were way out there and a lot of ideas. And he was prophetic too. I think I'd also like to sit down with the guy over from Tibet. How can I draw a blank?
It'll come to you.
That's a hard question because there are a lot of people I would really like to talk to. And
Dalai Lama?
Dalai Lama, yeah. Who wouldn't want to have dinner with the Dalai Lama?
You never know. All righty. Anybody else you can think of?
Jesus might not be a bad person to sit down with and see, do you realize what they have done with your religion?
Yes, quite a few people have chosen that for various reasons. We all want to know what the heck is going on, man.
Yeah.
Is there any advice you would give to young readers? Well, do you have any advice for up and coming writers? What 2 things to do and 2 things not to do that you found that didn't work for you?
One of the things I would advise them to do would be to get into a pod, a good writing pod, for feedback. They're the ones that taught me how to write. I just can't say enough for that. And things not to do, don't let people discourage you. And don't be afraid to rewrite your books if you get new ideas or new information.
Excellent advice. And Miss Marie Q. Rogers, aka Pat Karen, thank you so much for being part of this episode of Jolene's Books and Writers Talk.
You've been listening to Jolene's Books and Writers Talk. You'll find links to my guests, their books, and additional resources in the show notes. If this conversation inspired you, follow or subscribe wherever you listen, and join me again next week for another journey into the world of writing.